ODAC Women's Lacrosse on Schellenberger Field. A pair of 3 lost teams will face off here in another conference clash. But there's an asterisk by that because Lynchburg has 7 more wins coming into this contest, already double figures. They're looking to keep this winning streak alive and make it 5 straight wins. It's been dominant stuff so far for Coach Mackenzie Rafferty and company. We'll see if they can extend things out today as they face the Averett Cougars. Hi, everybody. Evan Gates alongside my good friend Kevin Nestor. And Kevin, I mean, it feels like that point of the season where something certainly has to give. You look at the ODAC standings, Lynchburg right now in 4th, trying to solidify a top 4 spot in the conference to get home field advantage in that first round of the ODAC tournament.
100%. Out here on Schellenberger Field tonight, you're going to see a lot of star power from both squads. Your players to watch is coming up. I don't want to spoil it for the viewers. That's definitely something to keep a hold of as this game progresses because we're going to see a lot of those players mentioned.
Well, this is an Averett squad that features several athletes that play multiple sports, but one of them that is not in that category is Faith Boland. She's pretty good at one, the senior attacker out of Abingdon, Maryland, starting all 6 contests this year. And Kevin, 4 games with 9+ goals. She has been stifling everybody that she's facing, and if this Averett team wants to stay in this contest, they got to rely on 3 and blue.
100%, and that's your ODAC Player of the Week. And she didn't get that by chance or by luck. She earned that. She has been an absolute baller for this Averett squad, and they're going to need her in full force tonight, dealing with, like you said, the 4th ranked in the conference, Lynchburg Hornets.
Well, this Lynchburg team is certainly getting hot at the right time, and they're definitely going to try and make this Averett squad work in the back. Caitlin Alperstein, the goalie out of Arnold, South Carolina, is really going to have to rely upon this Averett defense because Lynchburg clears at a high rate. They like to keep it on their side of the field. And when the Hornets are in attack mode, it just feels like they're the first of those 50-50 balls. It's really difficult to distract that rhythm.
Yeah, and they have a 3-headed monster on the offensive side of the field. Neely Morris, McKenna Steinau, and Sydney Dumas. They have been absolutely killing it this year. It's fun to watch them play, but it's even more fun to see them play together. They're not selfish, although the stats would indicate that they could possibly be. They're all right there equally together with goals and with points. They've been fun to watch, and it's going to be another classic here tonight for them.
Well, a lot of connectivity up front. 4 players already with north of 20 goals this season, 3 with 30+ for Lynchburg. They're going to try to keep things rolling in search of win number 11. Things start to get real down the stretch. Just a few more games to go as we reach the end of the regular season, and immediately Lynchburg is in business. Steinau handles the draw control. Around the horn we go for this Lynchburg offense. They're in the home whites, moving left to right. Several games on Schellenberger Field have turned into crooked numbers this season. They're trying to do it again early as Hossauer has this one swiped away, but just momentarily. Free position shot on the way, and sometimes that attack mode can pay off. You get a golden opportunity here.
And I think what's so dangerous about Lynchburg, you're seeing it here in the early seconds of this game, the ball movement, right? Nobody's selfish. Nobody's trying to attack when it's not there. Get the open look, and you're seeing it here.
Slot and deposit. That's all you need sometimes for the sophomore from Pinehurst. Maya Hossauer's on the board, and this Lynchburg team certainly looking at their free position numbers. They want it to climb throughout the remainder of the season. It's just at 45%. This opponents have converted on 58% of their free position shots, but a good start for Lynchburg. They're 1 for 1 in that category.
Right, and when you look at the numbers, you know with the firepower that this Lynchburg team has, that number will increase with the opportunities given. But for them, coming out early, coming out strong, they're swinging for the fences and connecting already.
It was an easy start and looks seamless. Back to the circle we go where this Averett squad will try and disrupt an early momentum grab for the Hornets. First 33 seconds there on the board. Neely Morris able to get the draw over to Steinau, and Lynchburg heads right again. Numbers forward, and they have so many different scores. The conversation throughout this year has been, it's been by committee. They get it to one of the mainstays in the starting lineup, Sydney Dumas. Shoots and puts it right by the net. Goal number 2 in just 49 seconds.
Yeah, and that's all credit to ball movement, right? Being able to find the open slasher, and then she just throws a rifle of a ball into the net. The keeper, watch that one flash right by her.
That was impressive stuff, and Sydney Dumas, somebody who, as we've said throughout the season, obviously is the top of this offense. You mentioned the three-headed monster. Dumas has really done it all, but this Lynchburg team has opened up options for other players, and sometimes Dumas is just the final touch, you know, the cherry on top, because when you have everybody else handled, you forget about Seven and White.
Yeah, it's crazy to say that, right? Because she's the team leader now with 36 goals scored.
Averett able to get this draw as the referee intervenes, and the Cougars will try and get some sort of possession going. Lynchburg already making it head the other way. Now numbers, and Steinow off to a sprint race. One-on-one with the goalie, laces it home. 3 goals in the opening minute and a half, and McKenna Steinow showing off that speed again, just a few steps in front. Nobody was stopping her.
Yeah, and there's not many players you want to get into an offensive foot race with on this Lynchburg squad, much less Steinow. She showed you the wheels there and able to capitalize, and you mentioned it, 3 goals within the opening 65 seconds.
3 different players as well. For Steinow, that's goal number 34 of this 2025 campaign. Also 13 assists to her name, and she has really started to head in the right direction. Reached 50 points versus Randolph last year, and already getting close to doing that just this season. 3-0. We've barely taken a breath here on Schellenberger. Averett taking on Lynchburg on this Wednesday evening. And Steinow once again just so dominant in the circle. Neely Morris has to be credited for some of the work as well. She has split those draw controls with Maya Hossauer. And somebody else who's come into the picture, Neely Morris can knot it home as well. She gets another goal, the 4th Hornet on the board. And that was almost deceptive. Just waited, looked the other direction, and fired home.
Yeah, 100%. And slashing with the pass there, going past 3 Cougar defenders to a wide open offensive goal. And Evan, at this rate, we might have to find some new stats to talk about here in a few minutes.
It feels like Lynchburg is constantly rewriting them. It's like the stock market. It's going up, it's going down, around, you name it. And the Hornets have done well this season by being consistent here at Schellenberger Field, especially in some of these results where they've taken the lead early. They haven't looked back, but this team is equally as impressive on the road. 6-1 is the record in those road games, and they'll have to be ready for the incoming future. They head to Shenandoah on Saturday. For now, though, the Hornets keeping this conversation alive. They're winning draw controls at a rapid rate. For Lynchburg, the goalkeeping statistics have been impressive, but it's because they've barely been touched on defense as Norco tries to find the angle. Hornets will maintain possession. You know, Kevin, it can be so difficult because when your defense hasn't had to be as active in recent games, you still got to be ready. You still got to be improving for the final stretch. But you understand you want to be playing offense, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it's so tough whenever you're playing a squad like Lynchburg, knowing how good they are. You're seeing it on tab again.
Nearly.
Gates, is this women's lacrosse or the Oprah Winfrey show? You get a goal. You get a goal, and you get a goal.
Go ahead and hit the back row of the theater because I think everybody's going home with a prize. Neely Morris, number 19, able to get another one. Neely, somebody that has really found that goal tally this season. She has been active in every stats category before. We mentioned the draw control. She leads the team in that department. But now, coming into this contest, was already at 31 goals. That's something we didn't necessarily see last year. She had just 5 hat tricks, which is still an impressive stat. She's already at 6, and it might be looking like 7 today.
Yeah, and what's scary is the Lynchburg team, they can have this firepower against any team, right? Not only in the ODAC, but in the country. Whenever they're on, and they're showing it with their passing. And we've already mentioned the scoring.
That's a great point. This Lynchburg team has traveled well to start the year. You know, we say start, it really feels like we are in that final stretch now. But 2 wins down in North Carolina, 2 in Florida, and they have really just taken this ODAC slate and shown everybody what they can do. A chance to be 6-2 in conference play as this pass tries to find Strano. It's going to head all the way back. Jamie Thomas able to collect. This Averett team so far has really just struggled to keep those Lynchburg cutters, and we have seen passing in timely cases as Dumas weaves in and out, dodges and goes downstairs, bounces it off the turf. Connect the dots and right down Main Street.
And that's so deadly. Just the speed that she has, really the whole team. That's what makes this Lynchburg team so hard to guard, is they can just blow by defenders, and it's like they can do it the entire game.
It is really one of those races. It has turned quickly into a sprint for this Lynchburg team. Forget waiting around. 6 goals in the first 3 minutes. Sydney Dumas showing us what she can do. Welcome back here in the Hill City. Lynchburg out to an early lead, 6-0. They're looking to add an extra point here in the coming minutes, as it has been an impressive offensive display so far. And Kevin, there's really not much to critique from the Hornets. Obviously, one draw goes Averett's way when the referee had to intervene, but it has just been clinical from this Hornets offense, and they're showing that transition as well.
Yeah, they have been near perfect, and as we say that, Averett gets a draw control.
The Cougars trying to steal the story, and one of the players that you have to pay respect to is Faith Boland. She has been incredible. 4 of 6 games this year for the Cougars. She has scored 9+ goals, and already when you look at some of the impressive stats, she is up there in the top 5 in program history for several. She is trying to throw a wrinkle in the picture here for this Cougar squad as they look down to Portia Davis, running into trouble. Davis started every game last year for Averett. Still overloading one side, tries to get the pass in, and Bornholt immediately getting the contact. It's going to be a free position shot. Very little to dispute about that. We'll see if the Cougars get on the board. Down 6 early. Boland ready to go, gets it past Sin. Goal number 1 for Averett. And this Cougar squad tries to rebound here in this first quarter, 1 for 1 in that shot department.
Yeah, it sounds a little early to talk about a rebound or a rally, but that could be the spark that gets this team going. You mentioned how good Averett can be in the attack phase of their offense, especially with Boland out there. So for her, if she can get going here early, maybe trim back into this lead and just cool down Lynchburg, I think that can help out a lot too. Just being able to kind of manage the storm and try to wear that hot start out just a tick.
Well, that is goal number 39 of the season, and we mentioned the Cougars are only playing their 7th game of 2025. Lynchburg is in game number 14. So big difference on the schedule, but Boland has put up numbers that are not only impressive, but they're higher than almost every Hornet on the roster, at least in that goal category. This offense funnels through number 3, but the problem is the Cougars haven't been able to stay on offense long. Sydney Dumas takes it across the line. Opportunities now for the Hornets to put in some new personnel. We saw Chastity Corner out there. Now it's Strano dishing off to Norco. Maybe not a question of if, but when. If this Lynchburg team can add another goal, Steinow tries to go around, wrapping inside, lost possession momentarily, but the flag comes out. Steinow is just not afraid to get downhill.
Right, and that's what makes this team so scary. As quick as they are, they're really methodical when they get into those offensive pieces like that. They know what they want to do, and they execute it at such a high rate and such a high pace that it makes it so hard to defend.
Really patient strikes, like you said, but there is power in patience. There was almost a goal, and it's Steinow misses wide left. Second opportunity as the Hornets corral the ground ball. Looking inside, Strano was wide open. She elects to take it outside. Now great dish, and oh wow, Sydney Dumas met with all sorts of contact. Lynchburg's going to get another bite at the apple. 10:26 to go here in the first quarter. You wonder if Dumas is going to be a little selfish and take this, or if she elects to go outside. I have to imagine it is straight down Broadway. Just waiting for the referee's whistle. Looks like one of the Cougars will have to take a few steps back, and the chance on the way. Dumas looks left, once again missing. Steinow missed in a similar spot. But another great rebound right into action, and the Cougars take over. Searching for any victories that they can get. That might be the first step. The problem is clearing against this dominant Lynchburg defense, and extends into the midfield. Really, everybody on this team has a great feel for the game. That's what Coach Rafferty has talked about. It's about connecting the three sectors. And Chastity Corner, always aggressive. She is up on the move. Slots it inside to Norco. And you see, Kevin, this team for Averett already pinned back. And you see this defense almost scared to get out wide because of how quick the Hornets can be.
Yeah, and they're moving so quick while also being patient with what they're trying to set up. And you're seeing that here on the cut.
Lynchburg has really missed a few, we won't say gimmies, but definitely high percentage looks. But once again, you're seeing the hustle to get it back, and still with the shot clock just under 60 seconds. Another great chance. Norco goes inside. Great dish to Jamie Thomas.
For Lynchburg again, that looked, if we can compare it to basketball for just a second, a lapse in some zone defense is what it looked like. Just a defender missing their markup. That leads to a wide open slasher for a relatively easy goal for Jamie Thomas.
We have seen several opportunities where Lynchburg has just gone right inside, and it's been a turn and pop for the Hornets offense. Thomas, the sophomore out of Howell, New Jersey, goal number 5 on the season. Goal number 7 on the day for Lynchburg. Obviously, that production quickly slowed after Averett's first goal of the contest, but we'll see if Lynchburg can rifle a few more off in a hurry. Starts at the draw circle. Who wants it? Averett once again trying their luck. It was Caden Holdsworth who was unable to come up with it for her squad. Now Dumas. Lots of options. Jenna Norco sporting the signature sweatpants. Doesn't matter what temperature. She will be out there and trying to make another wrinkle for this offense. You see a lot of cutting. Once again, it's all about timing. And now maybe a set look from the sideline. Steinow just waiting. Great defense and communication from the Cougars. This opportunity is denied and goal. Alperstein maybe got a stick on it. Now second chance. Another pass from Bradley that rattles out. Neely Morris ready to fire again, and the Hornets just keep it going.
Beautiful job from Averett there to be able to keep everyone in front of him until the second chance. And even then, the keeper able to make a great save. Unfortunately, Lynchburg with a third opportunity on this end of the field.
It's got to feel so frustrating because you do everything right. You check the boxes, signed it off, and still got to do it again. This Averett team has really been pushed back. It's very similar to that last game versus Randolph, where this Lynchburg team did it in the first quarter. Another nice swipe, and Hossauer's shot collected by Alperstein. 44 saves on the season. She's faced 129 shots now as the Cougars just trying to get off and running again. Lisana Guillo, the junior from the Netherlands.
And Averett with a really nice stand there. A couple of opportunities for Lynchburg, couldn't capitalize. Credit that to the Cougar defense, stepping up, keeping everything in front of them, and having vision on task at hand. Now let's see if they can capitalize on the offensive opportunity.
Green card assessed on that last play. It's going to be Reagan Bradley who goes to take a seat. Averett just trying to clear again, and Guillo just smart to use her speed and trying to get down the sideline corner. Able to play tight defense as well. Kevin, that almost looked like a football play, like trying to sneak it down. A little bit of loud contact that sends Steinow to the turf. It takes Lynchburg heading the other way, and it really means that Averett now, after having another great window open, is going to have to settle for defense.
After that quick spurt from Lynchburg, we saw them, Averett, that is, be able to slow it down just to find a good defensive possession after their goal and be able to stop this Lynchburg offense freight train that was rolling so good at the start of this quarter. Just unable to capitalize on an offense possession.
Well, Kevin, it might be easy to look at Lynchburg right now and say, wow, they really haven't been productive in the last few minutes, but they are shooting 7 of 14 right now, and that season percentage is at 49%. So obviously, very quick start, a hot start. The oven's turned on in a hurry, but you got to still feel like the Hornets have a few more in store.
Right. That's what I was kind of talking about with Averett being able to weather the storm. You know, as much as you wish it could be possible, it's just not physically possible to shoot 100% once you start 5 for 5 for a game, right? So knowing they were going to cool down, being able to get into those good defensive possessions like they were last time down, you just got to be able to capitalize when you get the ball in your possession.
They're just trying to rough things up. Another great pass right on the pocket, and Sydney Dumas shows off again. Wow, you saw the separation, and there is nothing you can do if you're in goal to stop one of the best scorers in the conference.
And the sets that Lynchburg's coming out in, they've got cutters and slashers coming from everywhere on the field. It just makes the task so tall for Averett to be able to defend and see everything going on. And again, Dumas is coming open from behind the net, almost in the lap of the keeper when she was able to successfully add another tally to the goal column for the Hornets.
Well, what's even more impressive is if you looked at that last play and you saw Reagan Bradley who almost just tried to swipe it in. It didn't really look like it was a clean collection. And then that ultimately ended up getting Dumas isolated, and now she has the ball in her stick again. Little can stop this Lynchburg team when they're off and running. This game, of course, pushed back. It was originally going to be a 5 o'clock start time. Then we added baseball and softball to the equation today due to rain and, forecast bad weather in previous days. It is going to probably help the players here in the second half as the sun goes under the Westover dorms on the far side of the field. Definitely know the fans appreciate it as well. The bleachers on this side. Another nice laced pass, and Norco right there to take care of business. Delayed response, but you're going to add one to the tally, and Lynchburg is off in a hurry. Now an 8-goal disparity.
And again, we've said it a lot, but you just cannot give enough credit to the speed and the ability to find the open spot. It seems like every possession, Lynchburg may not get a goal out of it, but they're getting a really, really good look. And that's what's propelled them to a 9-1 lead just over 10 minutes in.
How about that? So far, 6 goal scorers, and Sydney Dumas already has a hat trick. 2 assists as well. The points conversation is always a fun one to have. We talked about Faith Bolin and mentioned how many goals she's had to start the year, where she has really been accelerating things. Somebody else who is in the Averett conversation for points in a game, it just so happens it's not even lacrosse. You got to go all the way back to women's soccer season. Celia De Diego, number 22 on this lacrosse team, also plays for the women's soccer squad, and she had 9 goals and 20 points versus Sweetbriar. It was tied for the D3 match record, and that was just one of the most dominant displays that you'll see, obviously, in ODAC history, but a second-team selection for a reason. This Lynchburg team's being dominant on the lacrosse field as well, and once again, emphatic fashion to get it right in the middle and making it happen. Neely Morris already someone who was on the board today. We talk about how many different players can get involved. I believe that's a hat trick for Morris now as well, and she has been really starting to get in a rhythm at this stage of the season, but it shows once again the committee effort, everybody getting on board. And for Morris, goals in 10 straight games, hat tricks in 7 of them now.
And we talk about how impressive a hat trick is, and a lot of times, you know, whenever you're impressed by an athlete is when you see a first half hat trick. Much less when you see 2 athletes from the same team do it within the first 11 minutes of a game.
I mean, that's obviously showing your dominance, but it's also showing that you have teammates out there who are formidable enough to get you the ball. I mean, we think about Faith Bolin getting that first goal for the Cougars. She just really hasn't had a chance so far. Lynchburg once again back to passing. We'll see how the approach changes now in double figures. Kevin opened up the conversation about Celia De Diego. Well, she is far from the only player on this Averett squad that is a multi-sport athlete. I'll have to wait and see if the Hornets strike again, because you don't want to get in any long-winded conversations the way that they are passing around the horn. Neely Morris tried her luck, this time denied. And everybody, you see the Hornets going right after it. Averett might have a break, looking to get the clear as they head down the field. Slows momentarily. It looked like Brianna Sams was involved. She's one of those multi-sport athletes, played on the Averett basketball team.
Great defense from Lynchburg. It seems like every time a Cougar had the ball kind of in their possession, finally got into their stick, there were 2 or 3 Hornet players swarming. No pun intended.
That's right. You really can't wait a second, because this team's already flying down the field. Here's Jenna Norco. Already a goal in this game. Once again, like a waterfall, trying to get everybody in the middle. Liz Poitras, the freshman, sends it outside. Sydney Dumas maybe heading to option B. Dumas still surveys, looks to go the other side. Jenna Norco now right behind the goal.
And what's so impressive about this Lynchburg squad is they have so much away from the ball movement, right? And even if it doesn't go through, they don't panic. They simply reset, use the shot clock to their advantage, and get into a look that they like.
It's normally a confident one as well. Another nice pass from Neely Morris. She is nifty. Sends it over to Norco, and a free position ensuing. 1:57 to play here in the first quarter. If you're just joining us, it was a shooting spree to get this game started for the Hornets. They were off and ready as Norco takes this one from far out. Quick speed to try to get around, but the Cougars collect the ground ball, still looking to get down the field. And Lynchburg is everywhere.
A whistle that time, but again, you saw 3 white jerseys. So quick to the punch whenever Averett has the ball in their possession.
Strano heads to the sideline. Substitution for Averett as the Condor comes out. They'll input Zaria America. She is one of those women's basketball stars for Averett as well. Let's go ahead and introduce all of those names to you. So Zaria America and Brianna Sams. We just mentioned they play on the basketball team. You got Celia De Diego, who obviously wrote history for the Averett women's soccer squad. Then you add in Gianna Manafu, Candace Johnson, and then Tia Kroons, who's the goalkeeper, and they are all on that soccer team. And probably missed one or two because a lot of players have those different skill sets, but it really is a plus factor when you get out here and you just have that type of mentality. Yes, I'm going to go attack and we're going to go win games.
Yeah, 100%. I think you kind of got to have that against this Lynchburg squad, right? Maybe not necessarily the lacrosse experience, but coming in from, a season that you've already played this year, your fitness is peak level because you know that with the speed and the amount that this Lynchburg team likes to run, you're going to have to keep up.
Maybe that's the good part about having lacrosse last. You think about soccer, that's another sport that you're really running a lot. Basketball is a different type of fitness. But everything that you're competing for feels like you got to be ready. Lacrosse is a sport as well. In high school, you see a lot of athletes double with it, but not every school has lacrosse, at least in Virginia. We know you go to different places and you might see it. It's certainly growing, especially at the club level.
I think with the integration of these multi-sport athletes, you're going to continue to see the evolution of lacrosse as more people start to get into it and understand, what it really is.
Really helps enhance that athletic ability. Lynchburg's got to go. 5 seconds. Norco sends it off to Dumas. And the Hornets are content to stay at 10. That's where they stand after a quarter of play, up 9 against the Averett Cougars. Dominant display on offense. Sydney Dumas and Neely Morris already on the hat rack for this one. The Hornets 10 for 20 in the shooting department. We'll be right back on LHSN. Beautiful evening here in Lynchburg, Virginia. Sun setting on the far side. Evan Gates and Kevin Nestor, and immediately this Lynchburg team put their foot on the gas pedal, and we have seen it game after game here at Schellenberger. Not wasting time, but Coach Rafferty's squad understands there are still a lot of tactics you got to correct. You got to figure things out heading into the big stretch of ODAC play going into the postseason, but from our eyes. Very little that you can correct.
Yeah, but I think you kind of mentioned it going into the season. This could kind of give Lynchburg an opportunity to see what they have on the depth chart, potentially for the rest of this game if it goes the way that it has been so far. You know, you've already seen a couple of players playing out of their normal position, rather, kind of stepping in and making an impact.
Sydney Dumas, as you saw on your screen, already at a hat trick, 38 goals this season and 128 coming into this game in her Hornets career. So add 3 to the tally and maybe a few more. Cougars trying to find the goal for the second time. Faith Boland did it in the first. Little extra contact. The Hornets don't like it. A lot of confusion around the circle, but Averett will take it over.
For Averett, we haven't seen them much on the offensive end, but whenever they are down in position, they are getting good looks.
It's really just about keeping possession. Some teams have really struggled in that department against Lynchburg as Boland runs into a brick wall, able to find her way around and inserts right past Sin. That's what you got to do. Sometimes you have all the passing and all the plays that have really been a struggle for the Cougars today. It's isolation offense, and Boland has her second.
Yeah, and sometimes that isolation can open up more than, you know, an offensive set that's kind of traditional. We saw that on the first possession as well. There were 3 or 4 different players moving around, kind of setting those little chips. But then Boland able to run the ISO, get her second one of the game.
So impressive. We got to throw in at some point today, if she has another goal, you got to imagine she will. Boland, a strike. We'll see if we keep that one. Back pocket, we've talked about every other sport under the sun. We'll keep that one available as it's 10-2. Back to the circle we go. Decent showing on the far side. A lot of students here on a Wednesday evening starting to get near finals time. You got your graduates starting to put in those cap and gown orders. Have to imagine they're probably placed already. Really starts to feel festive as spring arrives here in the Hill City. It is crunch time in the spring sports seasons. Lynchburg trying to put a stamp on what has been a really impressive showing throughout this year so far. 10-3 is the record. Coach Rafferty in her second season has to be pleased, and especially knowing so many of these attackers are back next year.
On the defensive end, again, a word that we're probably going to say a few more times, the quickness of Lynchburg. You're seeing them be able to shift around, stay with their person that they're guarding, making an impact on the defensive end, only allowing 2 shots and 2 goals so far. But Averett has an opportunity here.
They want to make it 3rd time's a charm. Portia Davis, straightaway opportunity against Sen, who's missed the first 2 strikes, goes on the ground, bounces away, and the Cougars will hold on. Gotta feel like that was the right opportunity. You gotta shoot when you get that envelope open.
And you're seeing kind of that difference of pace. We talked about Lynchburg being methodical but quick. Averett, a little bit slower tempo on their offensive end, trying to make sure they get the right look, set everything up against this stout Hornet defense.
Well, throughout this contest, you've seen Boland trying to get isolated on the other side. They might overload one and going straight through traffic. Looked like Taylor Doherty's the one who hits the ground and earns the call for Lynchburg. Now Hossauer in trouble, resorts back to Bornholm. It's a game like this, when Lynchburg plays so much offense, you forget how much defensive firepower they have. Meredith Bornholt, somebody we've talked about throughout the year. Lynchburg with options. Dumas looks right. Quigley connects over to Steinow. A lot of similar names we've said throughout this contest. Have to think it's a good thing that you're getting consistency at this stage of the season. This lineup is very much getting to be a set in stone reality.
Lynchburg, a perfect word I think to describe their offense is shifty. They're able to stop on a dime, get into whatever set they're trying to get into, but their players can also shift around the defender in the blink of an eye.
It's almost like parkour, the way that Sydney Dumas finds her spot. She knows exactly where she's trying to get. Dumas ready to fire. She laces left and gets another one. The conversation continues in her junior season out of Kennebunk, Maine. Dumas has been sensational and really no question marks this time around. She takes that shot and she shows, you know, even after a lot of chances this season where she might pass that off, it might be later in a game, she still has that firepower to slot it home.
Oh, yeah.
We had a conversation about Meredith Bornholt earlier too, Kevin. We got to congratulate her on her first goal as a Hornet.
Yeah, those are, well, I want to say hard to come by, but if you look at the stat sheet, that would be a lie. But
for a defender.
Yeah, for a defender.
That's the thing too, because we talked about it a lot last home broadcast. Kyle Haney and I were mentioning, okay, all the seniors have a goal, right? You got to get Bornholt one, and that was the lone one that was out of the equation, but you see Meredith Bornholt very quick to go pick it up, and she has done so much else throughout her Hornets career. Just for context, yes, one goal, but 139 ground balls, 72 caused turnovers coming into this contest.
I remember senior night we couldn't get her a look. I remember you guys begging and pleading with the score there late in the game. Come on, just try. It's so cool to see her finally scratch one off in her senior campaign.
It felt right. Promise we didn't have any bets or anything on that one. You got to maintain the integrity. But we were just selfishly as Hornets fans really wanting one for 24 and white. Able to get it this time around. Just about everybody has connected as Steinow greases the pipe. It was tight on that far side. Second opportunity now for Lynchburg. Really perfect weather today. It is cooler and considerably from last week where you saw temperatures in the 70s and the 80s, but the flag is limp, no wind around. Feels like it's going to be a nice night here in the Hill City. But you got to put out the fires that this Lynchburg team have already created. Hossauer looks for another pass, and with 25 ticks on the shot clock, the whistle blows. Looks like Maya Hossauer will have the ball on her stick. Another golden opportunity, and Alperstein, who's been really good so far, is going to have to come up with one more. Hossauer ready to go. Going to wait till the final second. Ball ricochets out. Shot clock still going. Hornets got to be mindful now. 10 ticks remain. Steinow looking to go right in isolation. Slots left. And this is going to end up being a violation. You know, that was impressive on the cleanup duties. We kind of saw for a second Margaret Scoggin had the ball on her stick and then just couldn't get it off cleanly with about 5 seconds to go. This Lynchburg team has really erupted in this 4-game win streak, trying to make it 5. Somebody that we've talked about already today, Neely Morris, who has a hat trick, is shooting just around 60%. It shows how well this entire offense has been connected. And for Morris, that's 17 percentage points higher than last year. Easily the best of her career This Averett team has featured a renaissance on their end with Faith Boland doing some incredible things. Just hasn't been able to answer the bell today. Does have the only 2 goals of the contest for the Cougars.
For Averett here, you're seeing another slow, methodical possession. It's going to pay off for him.
That was impressive because Alexis Sin really saw it the entire way, but it is acrobatics for Caden Holdsworth, who gets goal number 21 this season. She has 2 8-goal performances from earlier in the year versus Warren Wilson and Randolph.
You talked about Boland's ability to run the ISO. That looked very similar. Kind of knew what she wanted to do, was able to get to her spot, get a really good look, and capitalize on it.
And for Holdsworth, it really felt like you said, yes, knew the spot, knew where she was going, but she has that size and that strength to get there. And even with the Hornet defenders right by Alexis Sin, it's not much of a question, and Averett gets goal number 3. Back to the circle, 8:05 to play here in the second quarter. The draw control is certainly going to be a stat that will matter down the stretch for this Lynchburg team. Got to be able to win those hustle stats. And for Lynchburg last time out, they beat Bridgewater 14-10. That was a big result against one of those middle-of-the-table teams. But Lynchburg earned 19 ground balls to the Eagles' 10. And it's stats like that, those hustle plays, that really start to add up.
Yeah, and that's what kills us as announcers, right? Those are what don't show up on the stat sheet. When you take a look at the tapes, and if you're able to tune in, you'll start to see more and more of those plays that add up in big-time games.
Oh, another doorstep opportunity. Sen got a stick on it. That's a play that'll make the coaching staff happy, able to not waver in that moment, and now Lynchburg with the clear on the other side. Reagan Bradley, quick connection up top. Sydney Dumas now elects to go over the top. Steinow knocks it home. The partnership on full display, Kevin. It was a matter of seconds, and the Hornets complete the clear, and they clinch the goal.
Yeah, 2 out of the 3 of that 3-headed monster we talk about. You know, whenever they get that type of transition opportunity, more times than not, they're going to capitalize, mainly just because of the chemistry that they have and their ability to find each other on the field.
McKenna Steinow really makes it look easy, and she didn't get to play the entire season last year. She ends up really short on appearances. If you look at the stat sheet, she ended up just playing 12 games, so already over that tally this season. But for Sydney Dumas and Neely Morris, they combined for 39% of the team's production and goals. And so you know that this Lynchburg team is used to having those up front, and they're really getting a lot of action. Starting to pay off as Dumas hits the turf.
It's good to see her get back up. That was an awfully hard check and fall to the ground.
Looks like she's still favoring one leg a little bit, but she is running, so that's a pretty good sign. Hornets are right back in the attacking third. Now just ring around the rosy again. The Hornets have some of those heavy hitters on the attacking side out there. Chance to extend the lead to 10, which would make this a running clock. Goals have come in bunches. Oh, great cut from Poitras, the freshman. Fiery first step.
The pass, the cut, the goal. It was all a thing of beauty. When they watch that one in film, they're going to be probably watching that one on replay, as they should.
I mean, that one will pack a punch. Liz Poitras, 3 hat tricks this season, 2 of which were back-to-back versus Southern Virginia and Randolph. She's now on the board today. And you saw that first option, that second option. Lynchburg really starts to thread them through, but the separation created shows that it's some of that off-ball stuff that can be just as crucial.
Yeah, and if you're Averett, if you can just get some of these controls. You know, your offensive possessions, they haven't been empty. They've looked solid when they get in that methodical pace. They're able to get their ISO looks. And they're able to get their, you know, their main scores with a ball in their stick. The only problem is you're seeing plays like that from the Hornets that just keep extending this lead and make it so hard on a team defensively because they have so many different options.
Well, a lot of the time, Kevin, teams that have struggled against Lynchburg have really struggled in the clear. The same can be said today. Averett is 1 for 5, and it just shows that when the Hornets get in that attacking zone, they are so relentless, and they don't have to worry about the other side of the field.
Yeah, 100%.
Lynchburg team ranks 32nd in clear percentage, now just north of 85%. They'll face a Roanoke squad next home game that is very similar in that positioning, and so that's going to be a very nice battle to see who wins that stat category. Another nice pass, middle of the field. Steinow trying to gain separation. Hornets might lace up another. They're up 10. 13 goals on 26 shots. We've been on pace for about 50% shooting throughout, and it just shows that it is not only one or two players, a committee effort. 7 assists as Alperstein gets her stick on it. Deflection to the left. Lynchburg reloading another opportunity. Neely Morris over the top, pass deflected. Still a lot of animation on the sideline. The cheers staying loud in Lynchburg. Neely Morris knots home another. She's no stranger to historic performances. We mentioned Faith Bolin earlier and what she has been doing for Averett. Neely Morris had an 8-goal affair last year. One of the biggest in school history. She continues to climb in that category.
I'm starting to run out of terms and words to describe this Lynchburg offense. They've done it all so far here in this first half. I have to go to Evan's cheat sheet over here.
Oh my goodness, we gotta go deep into the archives to find some stuff. Tell you what, there have been several lopsided results this season, both ways when you look at, last year. Lynchburg had 15 of their 18 games decided by 10 or more goals. So this Hornets team is used to playing in games that might go one way or the other. And one question I think that would be valuable to ask this coaching staff is, how do you keep the mindset consistent, knowing that, yes, you're up 14-3 right now. We haven't walked into halftime yet, but there are going to be games down the stretch where you got to play 60 minutes. It's going to be hard fought. It's going to be intense. And, this Lynchburg team really feels ready for the occasion, but you don't know until you get in that moment.
We've seen them, numerous times in games this year be able to, quote, run the full 60 minutes. Fitness isn't a question. It's really just about that mental fatigue that wears in throughout 60 minutes of playing in a really tight game.
Definitely starts to add up as De Diego retrieves, goes outside to Holdsworth. The offense can keep going with over 2 minutes to play. Lynchburg sent a player to the box, so Averett a woman up opportunity. Still flipping through the pages, trying to figure out which one they land on. Still stout defense and a lot of strength as De Diego slots it in. Alexis Sen had to regather and almost reposition the stick. De Diego wasn't sure if she had a clean catch. She does, and it's an easy shot.
And for De Diego, only her 4th goal in the year, but you're seeing her versatility right there, being able to move outside in. Again, another one of these Averett players, once they get the ball in their stick, finding their spot and being able to get there to capitalize.
Senior from Valladolid, Spain, has another one. And it is obviously those types of plays. You saw De Diego able to retrieve on the near side, Gives it off to a teammate and still finding her position. Those are the ones that start to really show up. Under a minute to play here in the second quarter as Hossauer gathers and sends it forward. Now Margaret Scoggin searching for options. Some reinforcements into the picture for Lynchburg. Poitras and Strano. When they have led at halftime, they have been a dominant team. And they have done it often here in recent history. This Lynchburg team looks to add another. Strano trying to cut. Now Norco behind the goal, who's over the top. Who wants it? These are the 50-50s that can matter. Hossauer, clean collection, under 10 seconds to play. Steinow ready to rip, searching, and over the top, not gonna work. Norco can't collect. That's how we head to the half. But overall, solid offense from Lynchburg. They have been in stride the entire evening. 14 goals to Averett's 4, and doing it on 29 shots, a large portion of the possession. We will see how the Hornets can go through the finish line. Still a lot of game to play, a lot to discover. We'll be back here on the other side on LHSN. Returning to play here on Schellenberger Field. Back to the circle we go. Have some halftime stats for you, and this Lynchburg team has been dominant so far. 29 shots, 14 goals, and it really shows in every category. Even looking at the clears, they have really been in front, and it feels like the second half will be a good measure of toughness as you see Averett already trying to get into the equation and try to win this opening draw that is extended. Ball is all over the field, and Norco able to try and corral, took a step over, and now this Cougar squad finally gets possession cleanly. I mean, who wants it, Kevin? Feels like we're going back and forth.
It's always one of those starts whenever you get energized coming out of the half, right? You got a game plan that you want to implement. You just got to get the ball in your possession first.
And it's really just about momentum at this stage. Averett obviously wants to come into this equation and really get things rolling. Feels like for this Cougar squad, they've only been able to get one or two instruments at one time. Lynchburg's had the whole orchestra playing loud, and they're trying to make sure that they get to the finish line. Up 10, so a running clock here to begin the second half.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Averett, with Bowling coming out, she had 2 goals in the first half, but she just hasn't been a big equalizer for this Averett team just yet.
Definitely so many threats for this Hornet squad. Nice inside. This is just over the top. Really top shelf material for Dumas if she could have just laced it in. Instead, the Hornets have a second opportunity. Another great pass right by the doorstep. Stranos finally on the board. It's been a long wait, but finally able to pop the net today. She has been cutting and cutting that speed up top, and she finally gets it. Goal number 15 for the Hornets. Back to the circle. 11-point lead. This Lynchburg team, as we've mentioned, Kevin, has games coming up where they obviously really got to be ready for, but also it just starts with the preparation now. You know that this team is ready to go, but the Shenandoah is still on the schedule. Roanoke for Code Red. I mean, I think the way that this team is playing right now, if you're the Lynchburg coaching staff, you just want everybody to stay healthy, everybody not getting hurt. Eat your veggies, eat your asparagus, make sure you're ready to go, and then ultimately this team is just in a great spot to pounce.
And again, you're seeing Bolin able to control possession, slow down, and kind of get the look that she wants. She's really been the steeple for this offense for the Cougars so far.
Cougars have definitely relied on Bolin not only just to get the offense started, but also in the draw circle. Those numbers are also heightened. We'll see what the Cougars have in their deck of cards now. Looking inside, pass stays out. All 4 referees, or all 3, excuse me. Same signal, and it will be stoppage in play, free possession shot. Cougars look at it, and Sin able to get the save. Another brick wall moment in the back for Sin, who has really just shown up in a big way this season. Transfer from West Virginia Wesleyan. Now in her first full season with the Hornets, somebody that obviously relieves somebody like Carson Quigley of her goalkeeping duties, as Sin has started now 12 games in goal this season.
Again, you're seeing Averett kind of running that slow possession. It's worked out for them whenever they do get the ball on their side of the field where they can attack offensively, just methodical.
Oh, wow, look at the dodge and the separation. That is textbook material, right to the blueprint for the Cougars. I mean, you see some of those plays in the attacking, you're thinking, wow, this team has a lot of firepower when they get on the doorstep.
And that's why I'm hesitant to say that Lynchburg's kind of done with this game, because Averett, if they can get the ball on their offensive side of the field, they can strike. It's just a matter of defensively, can they slow Lynchburg down enough to be able to capitalize on the opportunities that they're getting?
There have really been so many highlights, and some of them, just like that last play, it's a once-in-an-equinox type of thing, because the Cougars, when they have been ready, see a little bit of English at the end. Back to the circle we go. It's been a busy day for Lynchburg sports. Obviously, we mentioned baseball and softball pivoting to today. Baseball had their code red against Hampton-Sydney, won that game in dominant fashion. And then this women's lacrosse squad going to have their code red next week versus Roanoke, another regional rivalry, Kevin. I mean, with all the D1 differences at the conference level, you don't get much of that in college sports in general. So to have that here in the ODAC is definitely appreciated.
Yeah, 100%.
Obviously, few conferences will go across the nation in D3. You got your coast-to-coast conference, goes from Virginia to California. And CNU, one of those teams that is competing, and always conversations that CNU, you wonder what would happen if they were in the ODAC. Another school that is dominant is Washington and Lee. That's who Lynchburg men's lacrosse is facing right now. They had the lead at the half. We'll see if that announcer's jinx holds on for the second. If you're a Hornets fan, you hope it doesn't, as Norco trying to get nifty and just find that small angle. Now around the horn, and this one rolled all the way around the turf. Norco now retrieves 8 ticks of the shot clock left to burn. Lynchburg trying to get right back in the equation, and this shot sails over. That's going to be a violation. Cougars still unable to collect cleanly. Good battle here on the near side. Sydney Dumas evades trouble. Pass misses the first target, files through to the second. Here's Neely Morris directing traffic. Trying to get her teammates involved. Another great pass. Oh, wow. Blink and you'll miss it. Better save right by the goal. Alperstein, another one.
That was quick. That was like the type of flash you'll see at a NASCAR race.
I mean, you have one of those types of plays, and it is so quick, and it is also this Averett offense responding and saying, no, we're not going to go down easily here in the second half.
I mean, I've used quick, I've used flashy, I've used shifty. There's just so many different words to describe the pace that Lynchburg is able to just pick up on a dime with.
And that's a great tool to have at your disposal throughout the season, because a lot of teams, when you speed them up, the style of play just doesn't look as clean, or maybe it gets away from the true game plan. This Lynchburg team, I almost think, wants to live in that 80 to 100% percentile. When you're really speeding things up, it's high motor material.
Absolutely. And when you look at Lynchburg, I'm not saying they needed any more added motivation for the rest of their season, but a performance kind of like this and with the things that they're showing, it can be captivating, kind of going on with the rest of the season.
So much to look forward to. Steinau just goes outside. Ooh, high traffic once again. Who wants it? Cougars just trying to collect. It goes all the way into the midfield. Virginia Heffernan was in on the picture as well, and Lynchburg takes over again. Just over 5 minutes to play here in the third quarter on Schellenberger. A 10-goal affair. 10-goal disparity, we should say. Lynchburg now at 15. They've held Averett to just 7 shots. Another one right by the goal.
It's a tough tumble right down there on the doorstep. Good to see Steinow get up. Right back into the game.
So many of those plays, you think if you're live at Schellenberger Field and certain games, you might see the replay on the video board. We have our man Jonathan Faust working it today, but if you see some of those plays and you're out on the field and you're seeing some of those stumbles, you got to probably think, wow, that actually looks like it was a little bit rougher than it felt like in the moment. Highlights sometimes tell the full story. Steinow outside again. I think the Hornets get consent, especially with a strong lead, to go outside on that free position, and it's all about crisp passing, maintaining possession.
You saw Lynchburg be aggressive with a 10-goal lead. Like you said, more than content to just slow down, use a little bit of this clock, and still show those flashes of quickness whenever they do have to get into a set towards the end of that shot clock.
Well, I mean, that's a perfect example, too, of what Lynchburg is trying to avoid. You have some of those plays where it's those unforced errors. That's what will really derail a game or even derail a season. It's some of those turnovers that start to add up, and the Hornets obviously have really looked good in that category, even in second halves when they've been forced to pass a little bit more. What would be really intriguing, Kevin, is to look into the second half stats from some of these games where the Hornets get out and pounce early. You think about a 10-goal first quarter today, and just to see, how much does the momentum change or the pace. And can this team still operate, because you won't necessarily have as many goals, and you want to slow things down, but are those other stats on par?
Right.
But a more isolation, Hornets trying to clear again. This time Doherty sails it forward to Norco. Already the stat sheet has been very friendly to several Hornets today. A committee effort can never be overstated. And what this team has been able to accomplish up and down the list. Last few home results for this Lynchburg women's lacrosse team. If you remember, they lost to Washington and Lee 23-7. That was a little earlier in the year as the Hornets look for another. Hossauer tries to find the angle, goes outside. But following that W&L result, at home, the Hornets have won games in dominant fashion, 16-3. As we wait, looks like this one is in the back of the net. There was a delayed response. Stick on the ground, counts as a goal, and the Hornets able to tally another.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get a replay of that one. I'm barnswoggled up here in the booth.
That's one that'll leave you a little confused, and we'll have to see how that one goes down. There was a delayed response, and sometimes the greatest sales pitch is put on by the players on the field. All kind of waiting around. You look for the stick on the turf, but 16-5. And to go down the list that we were looking at of these Lynchburg results at home, they have won 16-3, 18-2, and 20-0 in their last three outings. It is looking like it's on par in this one as well. Jamie Thomas tries to reach to the sky and get the draw for Lynchburg unsuccessfully as Averett heads the other way. Once again, Holdsworth using that size up top. Cougars are continuing to spread things out as Lynchburg has throughout the game. really haven't seen many long shots today, and obviously it's part of the game. You want to get those high percentage looks, but both teams really getting those opportunities on the doorstep and cashing in.
That's a good point. You're seeing Lynchburg kind of get 3 or 4 different players cutting and filling those open zones on their end, whereas Averett, they're running more of the ISO looks that we've talked about and mentioned, but yeah, nothing really out wide for either squad thus far.
Wheeler was caught for the contact sin. Great defense and goal. Ball was loose, and the Cougars able to capitalize. Oh, wow. That's frustrating for Lynchburg. You feel like you do everything right in the moment and still just leaving the net unattended.
You're going to see a replay, just like you mentioned, a good, clear, really good defensive stand, but just the goal unattended for a split second is all it takes.
Ball goes down momentarily, but the scoreboard is not. 16-6, Lynchburg in front with 15 to play. They've put on a display here on Schellenberger, looking across the finish line. $15 to play here on Schellenberger. Lynchburg, 16 goals on 35 shots. They have gotten it from an array of contributors. You think about the hat tricks, Kevin. We were mentioning it even, into the first quarter going into the second. And it has just been sustained shooting for the squad so far. Going down the list, Sydney Dumas has 4, Neely Morris has 5, and then McKenna Steinow has 2. The rest of the Hornets have 1, which include Jamie Thomas, Strano, Poitras, Norco, and Hossauer. That's a roster.
It's been impressive. It's been very impressive. I think, they kind of took their foot off the gas there, really, to start the second quarter. They could have definitely kept going, really, by committee at any point in time if they wanted to. We've seen at times their putting their foot on the gas and showing the acceleration whenever they have to, when the shot clock's getting low. But other than that, they've been really content with just trying different things out. As I mentioned earlier, a couple of different players that we normally don't see in there getting some time at different positions.
It's exciting to see these opportunities as there's a scrap for it right in front of the goal. Almost looks like a fumble. Who wants it? Alexis Sin finally collects in goal. It's unattended. The Cougars just trying to swipe it forward. Oh, wow. Sin's back, and the ball is in the net. What a sequence. Averett able to be a step forward. They add one to the tally.
Yeah, it looked for a second like Lynchburg was going to be able to get out of that. Goalie had it in her net. Was ready to wheel it down the field. Really good defensive effort from Averett, though, to keep the ball on their offensive side. See that the goal was unattended. The ground ball really rolled right on the doorstep.
That was a great hustle play all around. You could see some of the Averett sideline almost trying to recreate it in the coaching staff. I'm not sure you really can authentically because there was so much that happened. And, while we're on that topic, Kevin, and this Averett interim head coach right now has really started to put things in a good direction. Hannah Mae Ayers, obviously her first season stepping into that role, someone who played with Averett in the past. And, it's so cool just to see two programs that have coaches in their first 2 years that are obviously trying to head in a new direction. Averett in 9th in the ODAC standings, a chance to sneak into 8th. And then this Lynchburg team once again trying to clinch that home field advantage for an ODAC quarterfinal. Coach Rafferty has certainly helped things out, but also she is very fortunate that that first season is behind her. Not that it was a bad first season, but, just the new load, trying to find out who does what. It's a different set of personnel. She has really felt comfortable about this year. It's starting to show up on the record as Hossauer swings left.
It'll be interesting to see. You saw a shot there from Lynchburg, but how they kind of address this. The deficit back to 9. I don't think they quite feel threatened yet, but it'll be interesting to see if they kind of pick the pace back up a little bit, try to execute a little bit more of their sets with their passing. But a turnover there, it's not quite what you wanted to see.
The turnover totals coming into this game were somewhat identical, just within a turnover each. Averett was averaging just under 15, Lynchburg under 14. But it really feels like, as you slow down, you might have a few more turnovers, and that's just a result of how the game is played. More focus on passing. The focus right now is on shooting and scoring for Scoggin. She finds the bottom right angle. Margaret Scoggin, somebody who has really made a jump. If you go back and look at last year, some of the statistics, she is elevating just about everything. 3 goals and 1 assist last year. She's now had 11 goals and 5 assists in this 2025 campaign. She started 7 games coming into this one. The sophomore putting on a show.
Yeah, and you're able to see the replay here on your screen. Just being able to find the right slot down there on the bottom of the goal. Really good opportunity for Lynchburg coming out. And I guess that kind of answers my question on the aggressiveness they were going to come out with the lead being trimmed back down to 9.
Feel like when the green light is up and you have that opportunity, you got to cash in. Scoggin more than capable. She shows it that play. Another quick one ensuing for the Hornets. Pass goes around to the freshman Vogel. As you said, new personnel on the field, and obviously we've seen a lot of these players today, but they are on for the first time together, and that can sometimes pose a question mark. What is that chemistry going to look like? But you're seeing that quick passing. It's so crisp, and the Hornets know that if they can get an open shot like that last play, they're going to take it. Hornets up top to Hossauer. Still time on the shot clock. Reagan Bradley doesn't want to wait. Oh, looks like that left ankle or foot had a little bit of contact. She came up limping momentarily. That's what you want to avoid in a fourth quarter when you have a comfortable lead, but it goes back to Bradley. Maybe a second chance. Oh, what a pass. Right in front of the goal. Scoggin almost had a second. The window keeps inching open more and more with every pass. Can Lynchburg finally climb through? Pass denied, 10 on the shot clock. Still searching for opportunities, and they're going to elect just to throw this one out. Norco doesn't wait. Just over 10 minutes to play here in the fourth quarter. Clock is running. If you remember earlier, we mentioned it will run with a 10-goal deficit. It is right there right now here on Shelley. Got to be careful. Scoggin almost able to collect the ground ball. Chastity corner almost has it. The Cougars now moving in the right direction. Averett team will head on to face Ferrum and Randolph-Macon at home on Saturday and Wednesday. 3 of the final 4 games of the season are at home at Daly Field. Now Heffernan turning on the wheels. Here comes Reagan Bradley.
You mentioned the wheels. Heffernan got out of there in a hurry. It looked like a jam over here on the sideline right by the press box. 4 or 5 different bodies, and all of a sudden, she's able to shoot out of there with the ball. Give Lynchburg a decent opportunity on offense.
Kevin, have you ever watched Cars, that first scene where Lightning just somehow finds his way through? You're like, oh my goodness. That's what that felt like. Our good friend Kyle Haney always uses a 4 or 5 car pileup phrase. You know, when you see some of those plays, it just feels like there's so much congestion. Then there's really no better way to phrase it. Lynchburg has done the work up front. They put a 10-piece on the scoreboard in the first quarter. Now with a lot of time, under 9 minutes to play. Maybe Strano has a second in the cards. Defense converges. Options all around. Now up top to Hassauer. She wants isolation ready to go, and the referee points for a free possession opportunity.
And for Averett, man, they had such a good defensive possession going. They were able to collapse on the ball, then be able to recover and not give up any open lanes. A little bit of contact there.
Hassauer's ready, goes down and misses. Oh, but it was given right back. The freshman Vogel waits. Patient and persistent is this Hornets offense. Isabella Vogel on the board. Another Hornet in the scoring tally.
Vogel gets number 12 on the season. She's one of them younger players for this Lynchburg squad that has, had an impact so far through this point in the season. And I'm sure, as you can imagine, her role within this Hornets program is going to continue to expand as her time here grows on.
You really know with some of the newcomers, if you start to recognize some of the logistics, the birthplace, all that good stuff earlier rather than later, they've probably had a pretty good impact. And Isabella Vogel, somebody who really in the first few games was already starting to make an impact. You got to get familiar with the facts. Out of Shrewsbury, Pennsylvania, had her first career goal versus Guilford earlier in the year. That was a game in which her freshman counterpart, Liz Poitras, had another strong performance. I believe that was her first hat trick. Hornets still excited on the sideline, trying to get everybody involved. Pass now goes to Poitras, just a foot over the goal. .6:30 to play here on Schellenberger. Really a temperate night here in Central Virginia. Not too cold yet, but if you woke up early this morning, you probably had to get the frost off your car. It was freezing temperatures, and then sure enough, it'll be back in the high 70s next week. Vogel doing everything just to get out of trouble and maybe a little displeased with the decision. 20 on the shot clock. His Averett defense has really continued to be stifling, but can they put a period on the end of the sentence? This play heads to final nths of the shot clock. Looks like we're going to alter the clock here on Schellenberger. We're awaiting a dogfight in Lexington. As advertised, every single matchup between W&L and Lynchburg seems to somehow be decided by a goal or two. It's 12-12 for the men's team. Can find that game on another link on W&L's side of sports media. This team for Lynchburg has really had some tests throughout the year as another goal goes into the equation. Once again, Vogel attacks. It just looks comfortable now for the Hornets.
That's some of those possessions that if you're Averett, you're trying not to give up those free position opportunities, especially that late in the shot clock. You mentioned it, only 9 seconds left on that end of the field. Definitely not the time to give that up.
This Lynchburg team is making Averett pay, continuing to climb forward. And what's so interesting is that, yes, there are 18 goals on the scoreboard. That is impressive enough. But to have 10 assists with it, it's something that the Hornets have really tried to emphasize. You think about a player like Sydney Dumas up front who can really get her goals in a multitude of ways as she tries and takes the draw for Lynchburg. But you're seeing the connectivity in this Lynchburg team connecting to the dots, and it's paying off. Cougar down behind the play. This Lynchburg team has been able to collect assists and tally them up, but they've also denied their opponents in some of these wins. This is a very stifling statistic. This team has allowed just 3 assists and 10 combined wins.
Wow.
I mean, it's hard enough, to keep teams off the board from scoring, but assists, they are obviously a little difficult to come by. You got to have multiple players involved, but you would think with how this Hornets defense has at least given up goals, 3 is a very small number for 10 games.
I think that's something that we definitely haven't given them enough credit for tonight. We've been talking about their offensive firepower a lot, and that's something that the defensive end is something that we will see as the season progresses, but you're seeing it here on display now.
Camera's really been shifted to one side of the field. It's been where the Hornets have been able to use their offense, but this time around, Portia Davis tries to change that. Cougars able to move forward into the attack, and we might get a display of the Lynchburg defense. Under 3 minutes to play. Lynchburg leads by a dozen. These two teams combined for the fewest losses in the ODAC, though Lynchburg has played 7 more games. So Averett 3-3, 500 going into this contest. Lynchburg 10-3. Lynchburg has never lost to Averett. The series goes back to 2004 when they had their first matchup, and the Hornets have also never won by fewer than 5 goals.
That's a pretty impressive feat.
A lot of consistency. It's been a consistent approach for 25 in blue. Caden Holdsworth adds another goal to the tally, the sophomore from Hamilton, Ontario. Able to get one more. Really good foreign representation on this Averett squad. We mentioned Luciana Guillo earlier from Rotterdam, Netherlands, but you also have Tia Kroons from Helsinki, Finland, De Diego's from Spain, Holdsworth is from Ontario, and then several, including the 2 goalkeepers for the Cougars, are from South Carolina, so you're still getting that geographic disparity.
Yeah, if you want to play World Geography Bingo, just go take a look at the Averett Athletics webpage. I know that back whenever I played tennis, and you saw these guys coming to town, you checked their roster, and there wasn't an American on the roster. And just from all over the world, they recruit so well internationally for so many different sports. You see that in soccer as well. That seems to be, where they dominate at. And in a lot of sports, it gives them an advantage.
That's a really great point. You understand that Lynchburg has moved in that direction, and you see, especially with field hockey, they've tried to really embrace that international flair. But Averett, a team that has a lot of multi-sport athletes, they definitely utilize them well. And that tennis talk, too, I mean, that's a really good conversation because they are improving this year. A Lynchburg team that also has a large international representation. It's great for Division III.
100% on the Lynchburg squad. Again, it's one of those, you mentioned Lynchburg doing it as well, yeah. I think the closest one is our buddy here at LHSN, JP, from down in Mexico. He's the closest local guy we got.
That's so cool, though. Maybe not for breaks.
Right.
You're like, all right, enjoy your 8-hour flight back. As Norco slots it home in the dying seconds of this contest. Lynchburg able to put a 20-piece up again. 15 seconds that will fall off the scoreboard. That's where the story will end as the final page is written. Jenna Norco once again adding another goal, and she has been active throughout this contest. Lynchburg able to get it done. 20-8 will end up being that final score. Kevin, I mean, like we said, a lot of different players get involved, but maybe more importantly, it's another win. It's another one by double figures, and Lynchburg is really starting to look hot heading into the stretch.
Yeah, and I'm never glad when a game's over, but this one's a bit of a sigh of relief. Our phrase bank and our word bank was starting to get a little bit empty up here trying to describe this team. And they do it in so many different aspects. It's going to be so much fun to see how they continue this season going on. They have the offensive firepower that is one of the top in the conference. Defensively, they're starting to put some pieces together that can really compete. And whenever you put speed, you put the toughness that they have, you put all that together, you can create a winning formula. And we're starting to see that here in the ODAC slate for Lynchburg.
We'll get this, not the first, not the second, but the 7th 20-goal game of the season for this Lynchburg team. They've put up crooked numbers. They are the best offense statistically in the league when you look at some of those stats, especially scoring goals. Obviously, it does end up getting twisted several ways. You can look at different metrics and stuff, but another point of emphasis is that Alexis Sin has been really good throughout the year as well. Maybe today, not the contest that you wanted. They allow 8 goals, but overall, I mean, this Averett offense was persistent, and I think overall they put a pretty good result on the board, knowing, yes, they went down early, but they fought back.
Yeah, 100%. Averett, I don't think they were ready defensively for what Lynchburg came out with, the quickness, but the way that they adjusted, we saw some of those defensive possessions, they were able to kind of anchor down on some of the cuts. They were kind of facing up on their man, and it was working out for them, and it kind of got them some turnovers caused. It was able to run the shot clock down, get some possessions that way, and then they were able to capitalize on those. And again, you saw another bowling master class for that squad. She was able to kind of get into the ISO game. Her and her counterpart, Holdsworth, Caden Holdsworth as well. Another 3-goal game for her. She was able to shine out in those ISO moments. And for Averett, there's a lot to build on going on for the rest of the season, especially with the conference play that they have coming up.
Well, they're definitely going to stick around and put the conference on watch, but today it's Lynchburg with the final word. They get it done 20-8. We're so glad if you joined us. It's been a fun contest, and the ODAC slate moves on. Lynchburg just a few games to go here in the regular season. Shenandoah was the next test on Saturday. So a big thanks to everybody who was involved with this LHSN production. A busy day on campus. Spring has sprung, and it's really feeling like it here in the Hill City. So on behalf of our director, Ethan Morotsky, and my color man, Kevin Nestor, I'm Evan Gates saying so long from the Hill City.